Walker gets inside, gets outside to Green, a three-pointer. It's good. Danny Green. He's putting on one of the best three-point shooting exhibitions in NBA Finals history.
The difference if you're going to play a small by the Clippers. Here comes LeBron, the stutter step on in the corner for Green. Green hesitation, and then
congratulations, Danny. We so appreciate you. The North thanks you.
So what's up, YouTube, and welcome to another edition of the Got Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, with my co-host, Donovan Moore. Today, we welcome in a man who needs no introduction. Please welcome in McDonald's All-American, NCAA champion, three-time NBA champion, and the host of Inside the Green Room, Danny Green. How you feeling today, Danny?
What's up, fellas? I appreciate the intro, man. Hell of a intro. I think the best thing on that resume is the host of the Inside the Green Room right now. Trying to get back to playing basketball. Everything's going good, man. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time out your schedule. So today we'll be talking to Danny about his broadcasting career, which he just touched on, his experience in the NBA bubble, and much more. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff. And without further ado, let's get into the intro.
Three-pointers. Outside jumper for three at the buzzer.
First of all, major shout out to your manager, Amjed. So real quick, can you talk about you guys' relationship and, how you guys got to know each other?
Yeah, without him, a lot of these things wouldn't be possible. So big shout out to Jed. He helped produce my podcast. He's done a lot of the business side of things, and many of the things I've done with him on a friendship side, business-wise as well. So he's pretty much a genius. He's very well read, learns about everything, and figures out how to capitalize on it. So I've done a lot of great things with him by my side, but I was able to meet him through my co-host, a good friend of mine, Harrison Sanford, Inside the Green Room, and we grew up together. Harrison did journalism, went to many different places at school and traveled doing, covering games, covering teams, and met Jed, I guess, in Ohio, I'm assuming. And he brought Jed to the table and we got a chance to do our own podcast. So I've known Jed as long as we've done our podcast, which is about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. And things have been going well. And he's the reason why we've been thriving.
Transitioning to your basketball career, you were obviously a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school. So in terms of college, your options were limitless. What ultimately made you decide to attend UNC?
My decisions coming out of high school, I was not highly recruited until going into my senior year. I was fortunate enough to go to ABCD camp where 2 years in a row I was able to play against the best of the best and get some D1 scholarship offers after going into my junior year, and then going into my senior year is when Carolina had a chance to see me and recruit me, which was a blessing because I've always been a Carolina fan since I was a kid. My dad was always a Carolina fan. So it was pretty easy for me. Once they started recruiting me, it was a no-brainer. If I got a chance to play there, which I thought I was confident in myself and capable, I thought I was capable to play. So I said, if I get an opportunity to go here, I'm going to take it. So I went to my dream school. Once they started recruiting me, it was an easy decision for me. But I did have some other really good schools that made it tough. Pittsburgh, NC State, UConn, St. John's. There's a couple others on the list that kind of fell off. But ultimately, Carolina was my dream school. Once they came into the picture, it was a done deal.
Aside from the UNC brotherhood and the obvious sports connection between the two of you, what made you look up to Stuart Scott, and how did your admiration for him ultimately lead into the part-time position that you currently hold with ESPN?
Man, just watching sports throughout my young kid years, he was the voice of every highlight film and the catchphrases and everything he described when watching, Michael Jordan play, Charles Barkley, Vince Carter, all the greats throughout the years. So, and I always known him for, I didn't know this till I met him. He had a different color eye. And I think it's because he got hit with a baseball when he was younger at some point, something crazy like that. But I got a chance to meet him when I went to Carolina. So we did our late night, Midnight Madness, and I got a chance to talk to him, meet him. And when I went to school, I was going to school, if I don't make it in basketball, what do I want to do? And what can I do to stay around the game? Obviously, coaching is an option, but commentating, TV analyst, doing sideline, those are the things that I want to do. I would see guys like him. I would see guys like Rick Fox, guys at Carolina. And he came back, and he was unbelievable. He's an amazing person, and the way he did his job, especially going to Sportscast to you in Syracuse, I learned about the media side of things. I gained a whole new respect for that, and it's not easy. So he was just an incredible talent with many things, not just how he presented himself and how he spoke, but he was the ultimate Tar Heel, and he treated me with great respect and a lot of love. So it only made me, want to be like him even more.
100%. That's a legend right there, of course. And throughout your career, you've had success at practically every level you've been at. So since you're now into the broadcasting side of sports, how do you prepare yourself for success in this chapter of your career?
Of broadcasting, man, I just, get as many reps as possible, build my resume. As you see, I'm trying to do some stuff with ESPN. I'll get a chance to tap into do some games and talk about the game a little bit more. And, continue to do my podcast. But I'll take notes to see how guys present. I'll probably go back to the Sportscast to You thing. It's not in Syracuse anymore. I think it's in LA now. So I'll try to get some more, classes, some more learning, some more sessions to be able to become a real professional at it. I'm one of those type of people that's eager to learn and to get better. So I want to be, whatever it is I try to do, I don't half-ass it. I try to be the best I can be at it. So it's something that I'm going to continue to try to grow at and learn from other people and go to school for.
Just to transition a little bit from your current life to a little bit of the past here. A lot of people, discredit what the Lakers accomplished in the bubble, calling it the Mickey Mouse Championship or saying it was a glorified AAU tournament. So can you explain for the people what it was like from a player's perspective playing in the bubble?
From a human perspective, it's probably the hardest thing you could ever do, be confined or be in a space for that long and just work out and go to work. Regardless of what you do for work, it's hard to mentally to live up to. It's hard to mentally to be able to stay locked in or to be able to handle that amount of, I won't say pressure, but it's just not an easy feat, man, to be in that type of space over and over for 100 days. So just coming from that alone, being a basic human, it's a hard task. So let alone trying to professionally perform at a high level, makes it even harder for my space. I mean, people have their opinions. It is what it is. That's their opinion, regardless. At the end of the day, championship is championship, and there's no easy way to win one of those. There's no easy route. Nothing's given to you. To win a championship, you have to beat teams. You have to beat them 4 times, and you have to beat the best teams, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the atmosphere or the scenario. And we were able to do that with our team there. It's unfortunate we weren't able to circle back and try to do it again in regular non-COVID years and have that same team. But usually that happens when teams win. Guys sign new deals other places, or teams break up, or the trades happen. So very rare does it happen where you have a team come back. And Golden State's been able to do it for years on end, keep the same group together. When we was in San Antonio, we were able to keep that same group together for some years and went to the finals a couple of times. But it's really hard to keep a group. Milwaukee's kept the group. Phoenix has kept the group, but even there's some changes. It's hard to keep a group together for that long.
If you recall, there was an open 3-point look you got in the bubble during the finals.
Yeah, I didn't forget it. I'm reminded of it all the time.
Exactly, during Game 5, and you just touched on it a little bit. You received a lot of criticism for that. So how do you handle, obviously, all of the social media criticism and all of the flack you received throughout your time in the Lakers, and just that shot afterwards? How do you balance that criticism you received from people you never?
It wasn't easy, man, at all. But fortunately for me, I've been in this league long enough. At that point, I was over 10 years in, so I knew how to have tough, thick skin and ignore social media and just keep playing basketball. Just know what was at task or what was at hand in our locker room, what we needed to do, and what we needed to accomplish. The series wasn't over. We didn't lose the series because I missed the shot. Yeah, we could have won earlier, but we didn't. But we got a chance to come back again and fight another day. We played a lot better, and we won it the way we wanted to win it. Things happen. You miss shots, you make shots. That's a big part of success. It's a big part of failure. You have to fail enough times to learn how to be successful. and I've missed as many shots in big moments as I've made. I've made some big shots too. Obviously, people remember the negatives all the time, but you can look back at some of the plays and some of the positions I've been in, and yeah, I've made some big shots too, and I miss them, but it just happens. But from that experience alone, not just that shot, but all of being in the bubble, I think it made all of us, stronger mentally, tougher people.
Absolutely. I love that quote from you. That was amazing. So if you recall, we met at NABJ in Vegas over the summer, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that you weren't there looking for a job. So what exactly brought you to the conference, and why were you there, and what does that mean to you?
You never know, man. I actually, when I'm done playing, I am going to be looking for a job. So I think building relationships are important, and it starts not when you're finished, but now. I mean, I would love to be up there with Shaq, Chuck, Kenny, and Ernie, one day. So why not talk to TNT now? Why not talk to CBS? Why not make a relationship with all the people there? And also meet a lot of young journalists who are up and come and learn from them. They probably know more than I do. So I'm learning, I'm making, relationships, building relationships, networking. That's the biggest part of our world. Very little of it is what you know now. It's a lot of who you know and how they can teach you how you use your resources, how you can learn from those people. Back in the days, like, you had to go to school to do this. There's so many jobs out there now. You don't have to do anything. You can just learn from yourself by watching YouTube if you wanted to, or you can know the right people and they can put you in a position and teach you how to do something. You don't have to have a degree in it. So that was the biggest thing. It was just making connections, building relationships, and just learning as much as possible, soaking in as much as possible, and then enjoy it a little bit as well. It was in Vegas. It wasn't a bad spot to be in, and and enjoy socializing with my people. So my media people, my minorities, all the above.
And throughout your career, you've played with some great talent: LeBron, Tim Duncan, Kawhi, Tony Parker. The list obviously goes on. But if you had to say, who are your top 5 favorite teammates so far up into this?
Oh man, I'm gonna try to go non-superstars, but I have to throw some of the superstars in there. Kyle Lowry for sure, one of my top favorite teammates. I want to go back to Cleveland days. Like, there's some guys in Cleveland that there was for some reasons that my favorite team, like different reasons. I'm gonna say good or bad or in between, but Delonte West, he was a fun guy to have as a teammate. Anthony Parker really taught me how to be a professional when I was in Cleveland. And San Antonio, obviously Timmy Manu, Matt Bonner. There's so many guys there, Tony too. But I just learned so much from. In Toronto, it was Kalo. Obviously, loved being with Kawhi. Kawhi made the game easy, even though he didn't talk a lot or hang out much. He was just about his business. OG Anunoby, one of my favorite guys to kick it with. I obviously love Fred and Pascal. In LA, Bron. I had Bron a couple of years in Cleveland. I have him in LA. Dwight was a lot of fun to be around. And in Philly, I had Tyrese Maxey, I had Tobias Harris, those guys. George Niang, one of the funniest guys. Jared Dudley, another funny guy. So the non-superstar guys are like that, those type of guys. The George Niangs, the Jared Dudleys. They're just absolutely nonstop comedy and making light and bringing great energy to the group.
Yeah, so we asked for 5, you gave us about 50. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, man, I'll give you my 5 non-superstar teammates. Kalo is kind of a superstar, but he's like, he's more of a superstar. So Kyle Lowry, Jared Dudley, George Niang. Tyrese Maxey is on the come up still, so I can't put him in there. He's probably a superstar. Rudy Gay, Dwight Howard is Hall of Famer, so I can't put him in there. Man, and on this young team, there's some up and coming young stars here too.
You've definitely been honest and transparent with us this whole interview, and we appreciate this. But on this question, we might need your most honest answer here. So elementary school, middle school, recess, it doesn't matter. Who are the toughest players you've ever had to guard in your career?
Actually, that's interesting you say that, man. And there's always a time you remember when you got your ass bust. And it's usually early on when you're younger. And here in Memphis, we have a player development, Dave McClure. He was one of the first guys to bust my ass when we were in, middle school, high school, like 8th, 9th grade. And every time I see him, he was one of the toughest guys. In college, like Jared Dudley was one of those guys that busted my ass. Like, he was just a problem to deal with. There's a couple of guys that list goes on. You're like, man, who is this kid? There's a wake-up call. It was kids in high school from Zavarian. Levance Fields was one of those guys. You're like, where did this kid come from? There's a long list. I'd have to actually think and go back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jared Dudley was one of those guys. Fucking Dave McClure was one of those guys. My cousin Joe Green was one of those guys. There's a bunch of guys in high school, college, and even NBA. When I came in, like, damn, trying to chase this dude. He's a pro, and they don't think he's a superstar. But this guy's really good. Jason Terry, even Evan Fournier, like there's random guys like that you have to chase, and that just are quirky and have a weird game. You're like, man, it's hard to guard this guy. So yeah, there's a number of guys that you come across that it's like your wake up call to high school, your wake up call to college or the NBA. So yeah, I've had a fair share of getting my ass busted before.
So even though you can't play right now due to your injury, how do you still find ways to contribute to the team even though you can't physically?
As much as I can, man. I tell them what I see, my insight. I think just my energy, being around and helping them mature and understand, what is necessary, what is needed. Kind of taking, the younger kids, they harp on a lot of things. They have a lot of emotions. And in this league, you have to have a short-term memory. You can't be that emotional. You waste a lot of energy on something that's not as important. Don't panic. There's still a lot of time left. Or don't get too happy. There's a lot of basketball left. We got to keep focused and keep our foot on the gas. So that's my biggest thing, is kind of just helping them understand the situational, atmospheres of what is necessary for that time. And that's whether it's being locked in, whether it's being focused, or it's okay to have a little fun, but just maturing, and seeing different things from different perspective, coaching them a little bit, and, asking them, not asking a lot from them, but telling them what I need from them, or what the team needs for us to win. And
we already mentioned earlier fame, talent that you've played with. But since your arrival in Memphis, how do you see Ja compares and contrasts to some of the great players that you've played with?
He's up there for sure. He's a athletic Tony to me. I've played with, he's got, he gets run around, very good at finishing, especially into that left hand, floaters. But he can also dunk the ball too, which Tony couldn't do. But Tony had a mid-range, and he could shoot it pretty well. I think Ja gets that. I mean, I'm not saying he can't shoot, but Tony's mid-range is like 99, or like, his mid-range game was 90. If I guess NBA 2K, he had a higher rated mid-range. Yeah. So if Ja gets that, he'll be unstoppable in a three ball. But I think he's definitely up there with some of those greats that I play with for sure.
You touched on it earlier, smaller players, lesser known players like a George Niang or something like that. I know Kyrie Irving, he credits Jose Calderon for his first welcome to the NBA moment. So who's somebody that you've played against in the NBA that you believe doesn't get enough credit?
At that time, or still, like now, I've been in the league for a long time. So
yeah, you're right. So let's say right now.
Decent amount of time. So like throughout the years, it was like when I was early on, I was like, all right, there's a couple guys. Now, guys that play that don't get enough credit. It's hard to say because there's so many guys I feel like that are underrated. We played Minnesota last night. Kyle Anderson, Taurean Prince. Those guys are very good. Or at one point was really, really good. Like Taurean Prince balled out at one point. I was talking about the other day. Mm-hmm. We played against, who else did we play this year? Portland. There's other guys that are really good that I didn't think got enough credit. Like Josh Hart. I mean, he does a lot of intangibles. You go to Dallas, you look at, Finney Smith. You look at Reggie Bullock, the guys like that don't get a lot of credit. Tim Hardaway Jr., the guys that play the defense and do the dirty work, and that still have to knock down shots, make big shots. You can go to Boston. You look at Al Horford, who's 37 years old and he's still balling out crazy, and Grant Williams. So guys like that, I feel like, they're recognized by the teams and organizations because the organization knows the people understand how important they are. But from the outside looking in, the fans don't really look at them as somebody that they don't give them enough respect or enough flowers, as you should say.
Just to build on that a little bit, who's probably your favorite young player to watch right now in the NBA?
To watch or to
watch, or
this Grizzlies team
really like, or like somebody, just a young person whose game you just look at and you're like, yeah, that's nice. I like.
Before I got here, it was Desmond Bain.
Really?
Before I got here.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of my top guys, and of course Tyrese Maxey. I mean, I'm biased because these guys I see up close every night in, night out. Mm-hmm. But those two young guys that are like 3 years and under, I think are extremely talented, extremely crafty, and are very good, and they make the game look easy. I'm trying to think of anybody else. I mean, Utah, their team is balling out. They're just as a group. Portland's playing well. San Antonio's playing well, better than what people expect. I think Cunningham grew tremendously, got a lot better quick within a year. Cole Anthony got a lot better within a year. Paolo seems to be doing really well. there's a lot of young guys that have grown within 1 year, made big jumps, and have been balling out from the rookie year or on the rookie year to the second year, and it's pretty impressive to see. So yeah, it's hard to just put on one, but like Cade Cunningham he's gotten a lot better. So yeah, but Dez and Tyrese for sure are my top two guys.
But before we let you go, we have the age-old question for you.
Question.
Some people say Jordan, others say LeBron. Some may even say Kareem, depending on who you're asking. But in your opinion, who do you consider the greatest basketball player of all time?
My goal is that I love Bron's game. I love all those guys. I think they're great, and I got a chance. But when I grew up growing up as a kid, it was Mike. It was my era of watching. And not saying I didn't look up to everybody else, but Mike, it was my goal, and it's hard for anybody to outbeat him. I think you can tie him, but I don't think you can beat him. And I think Bron was probably the closest person to that.
We got just one more thing before we send you off on your way. Just to switch it up from the questions real quick. We're going to play a game real quick just to keep you on your toes. So we're going to name some things, and we just want you to say the first city or state that comes to mind. So example, I'm from Maryland. So if you say crabs, I'd say Maryland. That'd be the first thing I think about. Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
Got food.
So I just got to say any type of
city
food.
or state. Yeah, any city or state that first comes to mind, like probably your favorite food place, like what to go to if you think about food.
Cool. In our country, you can't be out the country, correct?
No, can't be out the country. In the country, yes, sir.
Okay. Best food that I just think it has more options than anywhere. It's probably LA.
Okay, LA.
I would have to say Toronto too. Like I've lived in those cities.
Yeah.
So LA, Toronto, the cities that I lived in where it has the more options.
And you just mentioned Toronto. I feel like this is going to come up again. When I say cold weather, what's the first place you think about?
For sure, Toronto. But I mean, places that I play outside of Toronto that come up is like Minnesota, Chicago, Indiana, like the Midwest. It gets pretty cold, man. So yeah.
You're thinking about vacation. It's the end of the season. Where you going when I say vacation? Where's your mind go when I say that?
In the States, probably Miami.
Miami, okay. I like that. Miami Heat fan right here, so definitely like to hear that. Nightlife. You want to go out with the fellas. You want to party with the fellas. Nightlife. Where are we thinking?
I mean, that's probably said LA, Miami, that's all the same. I mean, I'm from New York, so I'm a little biased. Like, that's just home, so I don't look at it as like a destination.
Right.
But nightlife and vacation is probably, and LA is home for me. So Miami and LA are probably the best places, I think, nightlife wise. Also, Scottsdale. Let's go Phoenix. Why not? We'll go Phoenix. We'll throw Phoenix in there.
Phoenix. Okay. I haven't heard that one before.
Hidden gem. I like Scottsdale.
Last but not least, I know you are recently married, but you had a few years in there in your career, where you had some single life going in there. So when I say the word women, where do you think about first?
All those cities I just mentioned. Probably, the top cities. When you go Toronto, Miami, Phoenix, LA, New York, those are and you could probably throw Chicago in there from the Midwest, but outside of Chicago, those are other cities that are probably the top places if you're a single man that you probably want to be.
I got you for sure. Well, that's all the questions that we have for you tonight, Danny. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, I appreciate you guys. Those are tuning in, read, rate, subscribe, review, all those good things. It was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate y'all having me. Good luck rest of the way, man, and hope to see you guys at the next NABJ.
I appreciate you.
All right.
You do my Wizards too bad tomorrow, man. We're gonna try to get you.
Oh, that's part of the job, man. We gotta win. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, for sure, man. So thank you to Amjed. Special thank you to Danny Green for taking out the time to speak to us. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff. Like Danny said, make sure you tune into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. Get his views up for sure. But appreciate you, Danny. Have a good night, man, and good luck against the Wizards tomorrow. And
appreciate it, man. Take it easy.
You as well.